Hello everybody, Sorlian here and welcome back to another mathematics video. Today we'll be looking at a topic that you should enjoy, a topic that deals with money. Today we'll be looking at currency exchange. And at the end of this video, you should be able to do one thing. You should be able to convert from one currency to another, given an exchange rate. So let's head straight into this video. But before we do that, let's look at what exactly do we mean by currency exchange and exchange rate. So the currency exchange involves converting one currency into another based on the exchange rate between the two currencies. So if you want to travel from Guyana to the USA, of course you cannot go and spend Guyana dollars in USA because many shops and stores may not accept the Guyanese currency. So what you will need to do before you travel there, you must convert your Guyanese dollars into US. And this will be converted using an exchange rate. And the exchange rate is the rate at which one currency can be exchanged for another. So most times it will be 1 US is equal to a certain amount of Guyanese dollars. And this exchange rate tends to fluctuate slightly depending on a lot of factors. Let's look at some more information on conversion. So let's say we want to convert an amount from a larger currency to a smaller currency. Most times we multiply by the exchange rate. And this will also depend on what the exchange rate is. And if you want to convert from a smaller currency to a larger currency, we divide by the exchange rate most times. And once again, this will depend on what the exchange rate. If we say that they give you the larger exchange rate is equal to a certain amount of the smaller currency, we multiply if you want to convert from a larger to a smaller. All right, so we just gotta reason the question a bit. But most times, when you want to convert from a larger to a smaller, we multiply. And from a smaller currency to a larger, we divide. Now, what do we mean by larger and smaller currency? Larger currency, let's say we have the US dollar and the Guyanese dollar. The larger currency between these two would be the US, because US dollar has more value than the Guyanese dollar. And this is seen in the exchange rate. So let's head into an example to solidify our understanding of what I mean exactly when I say larger currency and smaller currency and converting between the two. So the first example says, a traveler has 50 USD and wants to convert to Guyanese dollars. The exchange rate is 1 US is equal to 200 Guyana dollars. We want to convert 50 US to Guyana dollars. So we see this is done. The exchange rate is 1 US is equal to 200 Guyana dollars, and the person has 50 US. So this will be 50 multiplied by the 200, which is a conversion rate, and 50 times 200 would give us 10,000 Guyana dollars, 10,000 GYD. So we saw that we are converting from the larger currency, which is US, to the smaller currency, and we multiplied by the 200. So let's look at another example. This example says a person has 15,000 Guyana dollars and wants to convert it to US dollars. The exchange rate is 1 US is equal to 200 Guyana dollars. So here we see we are converting from the Guyana dollars to the US dollars. So in this case, we see we are converting from the smaller currency to the larger. So we multiply by the exchange rate, which is 200. So this will be 15,000 divided by the exchange rate, which is 200. This zero cancels with that zero, this zero cancels with that zero. 150 divided by 2 would give us $75. And that is how we convert from a smaller currency to a larger. Now, one thing I want you to keep at the back of your mind is, if is it that we are converting from a larger currency to a smaller currency, if we have, like for example, in this example, we have 15,000 Guyana dollars. Of course, the US that we will get should be less than that. We cannot convert from a smaller currency to a larger currency and get more than what we had initially. So that is one thing you want to keep at the back of your mind when you get your answer. For example, if we had made the mistake and convert 15,000 Guyana dollars to US and we multiply it by 200, we see we will get a very large amount, which will exceed the 15,000, and that will not make sense because you can't get more US than Guyana dollars when you convert a certain amount. So that's one thing you want to keep at the back of your mind. So let's head into another example. It says a shopper in the Eastern Caribbean has 100 US dollars and wants to convert it to Eastern Caribbean dollars, EC dollars. The exchange rate is 1 US is equal to 2.7 EC dollars. So you want to convert 100 US to EC. So we see US is the higher currency. So in this case, we'll have to multiply. So this will be 100 multiplied by 2.7. This will just give us 270 EC dollars. So we convert 100 US to EC. Let's look at another example. This one says a business person has 540 EC and wants to convert it to US dollars. The exchange rate is 1 US is equal to 2.7 EC dollars. So this will be, we're converting now from EC to US, so from small to large, this will be $540 divided by 2.7. And 540 divided by 2.7 will give us 200 US dollars. 200 US dollars. And that is we convert 540 EC to US dollars. And let's proceed to another slightly different example. So this one says a person has 500 US dollars and wants to convert it to Jamaica dollars. The exchange rates are, we see 1 US is equal to 6.7 TT dollars and 1 TT dollar is equal to 22.7 Jamaica dollars. Calculate the final amount in Jamaican dollars. So we see we want to move from US to Jamaican dollars, but we don't have a conversion rate to take us directly to Jamaica dollars. So we must use some amount of reasoning here. So we see we can convert from US to TT. And then we see we can convert from TT to Jamaican dollars. So that is the avenue we have to take. So this will be, so to convert 500 US dollars to TT would be 500 multiplied by the conversion rate, which is 6.7, and this would give us 3,350 TT. So we now converted 500 US dollars to TT. Now we want to convert from TT. We want to go to Jamaican dollars because that is what the person wants. They want Jamaican dollars. So we see we have 3,350 TT, and to convert this to Jamaican dollars now would be 3,350 multiplied by the conversion rate, because we see TT is larger than Jamaican dollars. This will be 22.4. And this now would give us $75,040. So the final amount in Jamaican dollars would be $75,040 after we convert 500 US to Jamaican dollars. So we saw that we first had to convert it to TT and then from TT to Jamaican dollars because we did not have a direct conversion rate. Well, in this question, from US to Jamaican dollars. Now let's look at the last question. The last question says, Mr. Brown has 150 US dollars to exchange to Jamaican dollars. The bank offers an exchange rate of 1 US is equal to 150 Jamaican dollars and charges 100 Jamaican dollars fee for the transaction. How much money will Mr. Brown receive in Jamaican dollars? How much money will Mr. Brown receive in Jamaican dollars? So let's first convert. So we have 150 US. We want to convert it to Jamaican dollars. So this would be 150 multiplied by the 150, which would give us 22,500 Jamaican dollars. And then Mr. Brown will not receive all of this money because we see that he is charged 100 Jamaican dollars for this transaction. So now to find the amount of money that he will receive would be 22,500 subtract the $100, which will give us $22,400. So we can say therefore Mr. Brown will receive $22,400 after we finish taking out the $100 deduction for the transaction. So with that, it has brought us to the end of this video. I trust that you now have a good understanding of how to convert from one currency to the other. So we saw that when we were converting from a larger currency to a smaller currency, we multiply. And when we are converting from a smaller currency to a currency with more value, we divide. So we just need to be careful with this because sometimes the question may be set in such a way in which you'll have to do the reverse. So you just have to remember, if is it that you're converting from US to Guyana dollars and US has more value than Guyana dollars, the amount of money that you have in US cannot exceed the amount that you have in US. So for example, if you have 20 US and you're converting that to Guyana dollars, then the Guyana dollars has to be more in terms of a larger number. That's just one thing you need to keep at the back of your mind when you're converting. And just look out for that when you get your answer. But you can use this as a guide for now. When you convert from a larger currency to a smaller, we multiply. And from a smaller currency to a larger currency, we divide. So I'll see you in the next video.